Shalom Aleichem. So we are in Mishneh Torah, the Rambam, Hilchot Deot Perek Gimel. At the beginning of this Perek, Rambam discussed why it is incorrect and excuse me. At the beginning of this Perek, Rambam described how it is incorrect and undesirable to be poresh min ha'olam, yoter midai, to adopt an extreme approach with regards to living one's life in this world in terms of interacting with the physical, with the material world. Rambam quoted a statement in Talmud Yerushalmi. This is in Halacha Gimel in the Machon Shilo version, in Halacha Aleph in other versions. Lo dayach ma she'asara Torah ela she'ata oser alecha devarim acherim. It is not sufficient in your eyes that which the Torah has prohibited. The instruction of the Torah, is that not good enough for you, that you think you must adopt additional practices and ideas based on your own consideration of the matter? The Torah knows what you need and what you do not need, and how you should conduct yourself. And it is correct and proper to walk in that path. So said Rambam last time, and he mentioned also that it is not uncommon amongst those who wish to attain a high spiritual level to fast too much, to refrain from eating frequently, almost as a way of life. The Rambam speaks about this in Halacha Daled, ubichlal zeh uvaklal hazeh elu shemit'anim tamid einon b'derech tova, those who are always fasting. Yeah, this is their habit. This is not healthy, says Rambam. Asru hachamim sheyadam misagef asmo l'ta'anif. The sagef is to impose suffering or hardship on oneself beyond what is reasonable. And now in Halacha Hey, Rambam continues based on the foregoing and says, Sarich Adam Shechawen. This is Halacha Hey. Sarich Adam Shechawen Kol Ma'asav Kulam Kadeh Leda'at Hashem Baruch Hu Bilevad. As we discussed last time, the true aim of the way of life prescribed for us by the Torah, by Hashem, is to live in a state of Hashem awareness, God awareness. And therefore, it is our aim, it is our motivation, it should be in all that we do, should be to know Hashem, to come closer to Hashem, to be more aware of Hashem, to be more in tune with Hashem, and to walk on that path always. As we mentioned last time, even when a Jew wishes to drink a glass of water, he does not do so without reciting a bracha, which, of course, if one pays attention to what one is saying in the baracha, and that is the purpose of all the barachot, and therefore all the barachot need to be recited with complete kavanah halev, with complete focus. If one does so, then one is aware of Hashem, and so drinking the water is not only answering a physical need to hydrate oneself, but it is also, by definition, becomes an act of avodat Hashem, because you are connecting to Hashem's bria, to the creation. You are mentioning that you are aware, and you are focusing on the fact that even this simple thing, this glass of water, did not just happen to be. It was brought into existence by Hashem, and you make yourself aware of this. So Rambam says, "Sarich adam sheyechawen kol ma'asa," all of our actions should be kol ma'asa kulam, kadesh leda'at Hashem baruch hu b'levat, v'hiyeh shivto v'tchumo v'diburo, and that therefore all of a person's actions, when he is sitting in his home, when he is getting up to go somewhere to do something, with diburo, and his speech, when he interacts with other people, hakol le'umat zeh hadavar, all of his actions should be aimed towards this goal. Kesad, for example, kisha yisa v'yiten, when a person engages in negotiation, in other words, engages in business, in commerce, in order to make a livelihood. Or the other thing that people do to make a living usually is they become well-versed and expert in a particular trade, to do some kind of malacha, litol sachar, for which one is paid. His aim should not be simply to amass wealth. His intention should be, when doing these things, so that he will have the wherewithal to supply his needs, his family's needs, and such needs exist and cannot be denied, and the person is obligated to support himself and his family. All the various things that people require, eating and drinking food, and to have a home. He has to supply, he has to make sure that his family has a dwelling, a decent home in which to live, unasiyat isha, and that which is required in order to get married and establish a home. Halacha. When a person, therefore, when he eats or drinks or engages in marital relations with his wife, his aim should not be, his focus should not be only the physical pleasure that these activities bring about. Because if that is the case, then a person will tend to eat only that which is literally sweet or tasty to his palate. We've all also or to have sexual relations only to derive pleasure from this. His aim should be, it should always be in his mind, when he eats and drinks, etc., to maintain his physical health and his well-being, so that he will be functional and able to do all the various activities that he must do in order to live his life. And for this, one has to be healthy. And therefore, Rambam says, still halakha well, as I am marking it here, lefichach lo yochal kol she'achech mitaweh. A person should not simply consume whatever it is that literally his palate, his desire indicates to him that this is what he would like to eat now. Kamo hakelev wa hamor, like a dog or a donkey, like animals that have no self-awareness and certainly no God awareness, and therefore will frequently eat all manner of things, including things that are not even good for them. The person should therefore eat that which is to his benefit, which will cause him to be healthy and strong. Whether these things are literally bitter or sweet. In other words, the main consideration should not be the taste of this food, but whether it is good for you or not. So it seems that our mothers were correct, that you should eat your spinach. In other words, I'm not sure that the canned spinach that many people's mothers instructed them to eat was necessarily the healthiest food when all is said and done, but the intention was correct at least. A person should not consume foods which are unhealthy, even though they are sweet or tasty. So here we have an explicit injunction written here in Hilchot Deot Rambam not to eat junk food. Junk food is not good for you, as we all know, or we should know, although it is tasty, because it's designed to be such. It's designed to be to entice you and to cause you to eat more and more of it. But is not the kind of food that your body requires. In fact, it's quite very often the opposite. So if Rambam were here today, and Rambam was also a doctor, as we know, and much of his medical advice has to do with diet, some of which he even mentions here in Mishneh Torah and in more detail in his medical writings, some of which we have. He would tell you, eat healthy food, and he goes now into some detail, and do not eat junk. So now in halakha zayin, Kesav, for example, mi shaya b'saro ham. If a person literally his body or flesh is hot, which probably means that a person tends to perspire a great deal. Lahazia harbe. Such a person, lo yochal basar, should know that according to his physical disposition, it is correct for him, better for him, not to eat meat. Lo yochal basar, v'lo davash, and no honey. V'lo yishteh yain, no drink wine. K'inyan she'amar shlomo derech mashal. As it says in Sefer Mishneh, as Shlomo says in Sefer Mishneh, Achol devash harboth lo tov. To eat too much honey is not good. It's very tasty, but to eat some is good. To eat too much is not good. ושותה מהעולשים, אף על פי שהוא מרע, but it is good for such a person, it is advisable for such a person to drink water in which oleshim, which is chicory. Olesh is chicory, which is a plant which has seeds, and a kitnif, which is bitter. It can therefore also be used as a coffee substitute. It can be made into something which is vaguely resembles vaguely coffee. Even though it is bitter, that is good. In this concoction of water in which chicory seeds were soaked was apparently used as for various medical purposes in those days, and maybe also today. I'm not sure. One would have to ask the certain kinds of practitioners who may be familiar with this. The aim of eating and drinking is to be healthy. That's the bottom line. Because it is not possible for a person excuse me, because it is not possible or is necessary for a person to eat and drink in order to exist and to be healthy. Halakha Hef in the Machon version now, which is still part of Halakha Bet in other editions. V'chen k'sheyiv'ol, and the same is true regarding marital relations with one's wife. Lo yiv'ol ela kadeh lahavrot gufo u'kadeh le'kaimet hazera. A person's aim should be to be healthy and keep his body in correct balance, and also to procreate, which is a mitzvah, as we know, the mitzvah of Peru Uruvu. And therefore, a person should not engage in marital relations at any moment based on his physical desire at that moment, but rather when he knows that he is in need of sexual relations, literally to expel from his body the semen which is within him and has to be released. Again, because it is a kind of refu'ah to do so, as Rambam discusses later. Or either for that reason, for his own physical welfare, or to procreate, to have children. And there is a third reason which Rambam does not mention here, but mentions elsewhere in Hilchot Ishut, which is the mitzvah of honor, that a person is also obligated towards his wife in terms of marital relations. So these are the three purposes and aims of marital relations, which a person should keep in mind. We said, it is a physiological need on the part of the man, on the part of the husband, and also of the wife, and therefore we have the mitzvah of honor. So there's his requirement, his physiological needs, and his wife's, and there is also the question of procreation, of course. And these things should be in one's mind when engaging in marital relations, as Rambam, and not simply be driven by one's immediate desire. Rambam continues, Halakhat Taif, in the Chom Nore version, which is here. Hamanhir asmo al pi harufu'ah. The person who wishes to live his life correctly and therefore says, I will do this, such and such a thing, because it is healthy. If his aim is only his physical health and well-being, and so that he will have children or sons, literally, who will assist him in his work and take care of him, perhaps in his old age or what have you. If he looks at this only from a utilitarian position, what is helpful, what is beneficial to myself, that is not the correct approach to one's life. It's not a crime, but it's not the correct approach. A person's aim when thinking and engaging in these various practices, which all pertain to one's health and welfare and physical existence in this world. His aim should be that he should be healthy and well, strong, so that his mind and soul will also therefore be healthy and in a state of preparedness to know Hashem, to come closer to Hashem, whether it is by way of studying Torah, performing the mitzvot. Why? It is impossible for a person to study, to learn, to delve into deep things. If he is himself unwell or weak, or if he's suffering a particular pain. Let's say he has something wrong with his leg, for example, and it's constantly causing him pain. A person cannot live his life effectively in a functional and productive manner if he's in that state. And that is why a person should try and avoid being in such a situation. But his aim is to be healthy, fit, and able to do the truly important things in life. And the most important thing is being connected to Hashem, God awareness, as we say. And when engaging in marital relations, he should also have the further kavanah Rambam mentions here, is that he should aim for and hope for having a son who will study, be very talented and gifted, who will and be able to study Torah, even become a Chacham Gadol Israel, a great teacher, a scholar, etc. Nimsa hamhalech b'derech zo, and therefore a person who literally walks in this path, takes this approach, kol yamo kula, lives his life in this fashion always, or whether Hashem tamid, such a person is always serving Hashem. Afilu b'sha'a shenoseh u'noteh, even when he's engaged in his business practices, in his commercial activities. Wa'afilu b'sha'a shebo'el, and even when he's involved in marital relations. Mipnei shemahashavto bakol kadei sheyinsah tzaracho, because his aim is always that he be able to satisfy his needs, his family's needs. Kadesh himself, so he will have all that is necessary. So that he will be in a position to focus on the truly important things, and the aim of all of that is to serve Hashem, to be in touch with Hashem. And this is true even when a person sleeps, when a person is not aware during those hours that he's asleep. However, if a person goes to sleep with this thought in mind, that he is now going to sleep because he needs to rest his mind, his soul, and his body, so that he will not become sick. Because if that is the case, he won't be able to serve Hashem. As we said, you cannot do so when you are unwell or in pain. If that is the case, and that is his focus, this is uppermost in his mind, then even going to sleep is avodat Hashem. States in the Mishneh, Masechet Deot, V'chol ma'asecha yiyu l'shem shamayim. All your actions should be l'shem shamayim, for the sake of heaven. In other words, for those aims and motivations, as we just discussed now in this perek, that should underpin all of your actions and all of your thinking and approach to everything that you do. And this is what was said by Shlomo HaMelech in Sefer Mishneh, B'chol derachecha da'ehu. Know Hashem, know Him in all of your activities, in all that you do. All right, that is the end of Perek Shlishi. Let us continue Perek Revi'i of Hilchot Deot. Ho'il v'havayat haguf bari u'shalem midarchei Hashem hu. As we have explained, seeing that is, as we have explained in the previous Perek, that being healthy and fit is a prerequisite for avodat Hashem and living a functional, healthy, productive existence. And therefore, this is midarchei Hashem, is the way of the law. That is to say, the way in which a person should conduct himself to live his life according to Hashem's will, which should also be His will. Right? Aseh l'sonecha, make your will our will. This is both Hashem's will, and it should be His will. It should be His aim. Sheharei ei efshar sheyavin o yed'a v'hu choleh. As we have explained, it is impossible to learn, to understand, to engage in important and significant activities such as limud Torah or studying other things that a person must know if one is unwell. Therefore, sarich adam lahik asmo midvarim hama'abadim et haguf. A person must distance himself from those things which literally destroy or are harmful in some way to one's physical being, to one's body. And one should train oneself to seek out and consume, eat, and do those things which are healthy and positive. And therefore, Rambam says, so this perek really is a brief handbook, as it were, from Rambam, how to live a healthy life. Well, ahead. These are some of the things that you should be aware of, says Rambam. The first thing to know, says Rambam, is to eat only when you're hungry. Not because the clock tells you that it is a certain time of the day, or because other people decided that this is a good time to eat. A person should know that when you are hungry, your body tells you. In other words, your body tells you that you need to eat. And that is the correct time to eat, drink. And one should drink when one is thirsty, not otherwise. And a person should not refrain and hold back from going to the bathroom and expelling from his body that which needs to be expelled, even for one moment, because this is unhealthy. Whenever a person needs to urinate, or to relieve himself, you should go and do so. Now, when a person is hungry and now he therefore eats, this is now Halakha Gimel, Perek Bet in the Machon Shilo version, and Halakha Bet in other versions. One should not eat to the point of feeling like one is about to explode. In other words, to eat, or to overeat, to completely fill up one's stomach. A person should eat and leave, as it were, a quarter of his stomach empty. In other words, one should not eat until one feels that one cannot eat anything else more. One should cease eating before one gets to that stage. Rambam and other doctors of his time and well before his time explain, and this is is confirmed and understood, I think, by all, that the digestive system functions more efficiently and properly when it is not overloaded. One should not drink water during the meal. The word mazon, it means the meal in general. It is correct and perfectly acceptable to drink some water, but not too much during the meal. Some water, and it should be mixed with wine, which was the most common beverage. Different kinds of beer and wine were the most common beverages in those days. Wine was generally consumed, at least in the Mediterranean world, the Greco-Roman world, the Persian world, etc. Wine was consumed diluted with water, and generally their beer was also fairly weak. and having eaten, and now his body is beginning to digest that which he has eaten. And then at that point, having eaten, not in the middle of eating, but after having eaten, one may drink. And one should not drink too much water. And even afterwards. And before eating, one should check whether one needs to go to the bathroom. One should be sure that he does not need to go to the bathroom to relieve himself. Lest he need to do so during the meal, and it's also healthier for the body to expel that which needs to be expelled first before introducing other substances into the digestive system. Rambam elsewhere addresses this point in Hilchot Ma'achalot Asurot in Sefer Kedusha, the last parak. The last halacha, the very end of Hilchot Ma'achalot Asurot, as you can see here, which is parak Yod Zayin, halacha Kav Zayin or Lamed Aleph. Rambam here says, "V'chen asur la'adam sheyishha afne kavo kalal." A person should never delay relieving himself. Ben gedolin, ben ketanim. Whether it is to relieve one's bladder or one's bowels, one should do so as soon as one is aware that one requires to do so. V'chol hamashhe nekavo, and a person who does so, who does not relieve himself when he needs to do so, harei zeh bichlal meshapes nafsho. A person who does so is making himself detestable. Yather al halayim ra'im sheyavi al atzmo, on top of the various maladies and illnesses which he will actually he will increase the likelihood of suffering from various maladies because of this if he behaves in this way. With hayev benafsho, and thus he's also guilty of causing himself harm. A person should therefore train themselves. They should have a regular habit of relieving oneself at certain times of the day, not to have to, in the middle of one's activities or meeting with people or what have you, run off looking for a toilet. And in those days, this was more complicated than it is today, but even today this applies. And a person should not make oneself detestable. And a person who acts in such a way, this increases one's level of kedusha and tahara. It also has, in other words, a positive effect on one's spiritual and psychological life and reality. And a person who acts in this way is also trying to present himself before Hashem in as clean and healthy and positive a manner as possible. As I am kadosh, as I am holy, so should you endeavor to be. That's in Hilchot Ma'achalot Asurot. Now, Rambam continues in Hilchot Deot, Perek Revi'i, Halacha Dalet. Lo yochal adam ad sheyalech kodem achila ad sheyatchil gufo lachom. One should not eat, shall we say, immediately upon rising. Excuse me. Lo yochal adam ad sheyahalech kodem achila ad sheyatchil gufo lachom. One should first start moving around, and his body should start literally heating up. In other words, his body should become a little bit active. His blood should be flowing and moving around, as it were. It is therefore correct that he either does a little bit of work first or some other kind of physical activity. קרלו של הדבר, יענה גופו ויגע בכל יום בבוקר עד שיתחיל גופו לחום. So to sum this up, says Rambam, קרלו של הדבר, יענה גופו. A person should not constantly be thinking in terms of how to stuff himself with more food, more drink. One should consider one's whole physical being, entire organism, and the body requires a certain amount of activity. Ya'ane gufo, that is to say, something which requires some effort. So let's say going for a walk in the morning is a good idea. A person should engage in some physical activity every day in the morning, until his body begins to heat up and respond to that physical activity. And then take a brief break, so that the body now calms down and relaxes. So let's say a person went for a walk, or some people run or jog, or other things. These are healthy things. You see, Rambam understood the importance of exercise. Having exercise, also exercise has to be done in a reasonable manner. For most people, running a marathon is not very reasonable, and not healthy. So it's a fad to think that most people can emulate the Kenyan or Ethiopian marathon runners whose physiology is uniquely and especially uniquely adapted to such extreme physical exertion. For most people, it's not so. But some physical activity, some exercise is healthy and correct and necessary, says Rambam. Having done so, one should stop for a moment until one calms down a bit from that activity, and then one should eat. And if a person is able to bathe in hot water, after having exercised, having done some physical activity, that is good, that is desirable. And then one should again rest briefly. The body should relax from the heat of the bathing. And then eat. That is the ideal time to eat, says Rambam. Le'olam, further says Rambam, kishayochal. This is halacha hey now. In Perek Dalet of Hilchot Deot. Le'olam kishayochal adam yeshev b'mkomo o yatay al samol. When a person eats, one should either sit in a normal place where he's able to sit and eat in normal fashion, or reclining to one's left, what we call hasidba, which was a common practice. This was done on a kind of couch which was designed for this purpose. It was not just a flat surface like a bed. It rather it was a couch which also was raised up on one side, so you leaned towards your left, not in a completely supine position, but rather a semi-reclining, semi-sitting position. This is called hasibah. That is how a person should eat. وَلَا يَهَلِخ وَلَا يَرْكَبْ وَلَا يَقَعْ وَلَا يَزَعْزَعْ غُفْرًا وَلَا يَطَّيِّلْ عَلَى شَيْءٍ ثَقِيلٍ مَزَنَّ شَبَهًا. A person should not eat standing or running or moving, and nor should he do these things such as walk or ride a horse, or go on a trip, or cause other commotion to his body, or go off for a walk, because at that point the body requires a lot of energy to digest, and putting extra strain on the body at that time is unwise. So this also means that a person should plan his day, his activities, so that one thing is able to follow the other in the correct sequence, at a time when he should not eat immediately before he has to run off and do something else, if possible. Sometimes it might be very difficult, but this should be a person's aim. This is mainly medical advice rather than halachic advice. A person who goes off and walks, or has to travel, go and do things after eating, or has to exert himself in some way, having eaten and not having yet digested his meal. This kind of practice causes can cause serious disease and malady in a person. So again, you see that Rambam very much believed that living one's life in a stable and well thought out way, having considered what I have to do today, when I have to do it, working one's meals and physical activities and bathing, etc., in such a way that these things will fall into the right place in one's schedule. This is correct and proper from a medical health perspective. As Rambam says later, at the end of this parak, we'll see this later, but now I'll just mention this. Well, this will end for today. This is in Halakha. Halakha Lamed, or Kaf in other versions. Rambam says, Kol hamanhir asmo bidrachim elu shehorenu, a person who conducts himself as a matter of habit, at least most of the time, based on these various things that I have described here in this parak, says Rambam. We haven't yet completed all of that. There's quite a lot more advice to come. But Rambam says, a person who does this, ani arevlo, I guarantee, sheno ba lideholi kol yamel, he will not be sick. Until he becomes very elderly and dies of old age. وإنه ثريق لرופא, he will not need to go to doctors. وשיהיה גופו שלם ועומד על בוריו כל ימיו, he will be healthy and fit all his life. אלא אם כן, unless היה גופו רע מתחילת בריאתו, unless he has some congenital condition, something that may be a function of his genetic background, things he inherited. או אם היה רגיל במנהג מן המנהגות הרעים מתחילת מולדתו, or alternately, if he lived his life as a matter of course, habitually, based on all the opposite things, the things which are the opposite of what I recommended here. Or im tavo makat dever, or if there's some kind of plague, or makat basoret la'olam, or drought, or something like that, which may negatively impact him. But if a person follows my advice, says Rambam, well, he should be able to assume that he will be well and fit. We shall end here for today. Hizku v'yames levavchem kol ha'me'achalim l'Adonai. Shalom, shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi Bar-Hayim. We would like to encourage our viewers to share these videos with friends and send in your responses. We would also like to suggest the following opportunity to our viewers. If you identify with Rabbi Bar-Hayim's message and would like to sponsor or dedicate a video interview with the rabbi in honor or memory of a loved one, if you would like to obtain Birkon Nusach Eretz Yisrael or invite the rabbi for a speaking engagement, please email us at office@machonshilo.org.